Okay, so today for our meeting we have a lot of variety. And one of those things is we're going to be doing a memory service and a memorial for people who have given their lives for our country, people who have been engaged in conflict, wars, and really sacrificed so much for us. And so we're going to be talking a bit about that. And specifically we're going to be thinking about Keven and all that he's given. So I'm not the one to do the talking. I don't know how Charlie does it. So anyway, Tom. Just push this. No. No, you can just click it on. Or I can put it on for you.
Sure. Good morning, Arcata. Let's see, Memorial Day is almost upon us. And click away. Memorial Day is almost upon us, and there's a lot of celebrations in Arcata. We know of the big one that takes off from right here is Memorial Day celebration is kinetic sculpture race. And in some places it's parades and a lot of other things that we like to celebrate. But Memorial Day, for a lot of other people, is a day of remembrance. And I'm just going to give a brief outline about the history of Memorial Day. But it really is a thousands-year-old tradition. And for cultures all over the world, from Native American, Asian, European. But where it really came to be a formal holiday was after the Civil War. And as I was reading about everything, I've traveled through the South a lot, gone lots of memorials, and I was doing a lot of reading about Memorial Day, and it was really about, 600,000 people died. 600,000. And I really thought about that. I thought about the armies. I looked on the map, and I was kind of reacquainting myself with how small of a land area that covered for all the battles. I've been to Gettysburg and Manassas and to Sharpsville and to some of these other places. And then I read some of the things that were going on. It really devastated the country. I mean, you can only imagine, because it was not just an us and them. It really came down to, it was all about us. Just people just being brutal to each other. And the country, as we got together, they started in small towns. Small towns like Arcata started having little celebrations, and they would go to these memorial sites. They would go to battle sites like Gettysburg, and they would start to lay flowers, wreaths, and all these different celebrations. Some of them were very old, and they tied in with what was going on before their families, ancient rituals. In the North, it wasn't called Memorial Day, it was called Remembrance Day. And in the South, it was called Decoration Day. And there were other names, there were Memorial Days. And there's a lot of dispute over who's the first. And I don't know why it's so important to be the first, but to some people it really is. And so it started in little towns like Columbus, Georgia, and little towns, another Columbus, Mississippi, and Charleston, South Carolina. But the actual first celebration was, I want to say Cooperstown, New York, Waterloo, New York. And it was around 1868, and they started having formal celebrations, and the annual celebration, and the Memorial Day parades. But it wasn't a national day. It was a springtime recognition. It was in the spring because of the flowers. But it was after World War I, when we came back from the War of All Wars, the end of all wars, that we said, you know what, we should have a national day. So we took the day that the South and the North had, and we put it together, and we formally named it Memorial Day. That took place on May 30th. It remained on May 30th as the day, and people were involved, and Memorial Day was huge until it became a 3-day holiday. And in 1971, when Congress passed a number of days, they said, we'll have this as the fourth Friday or the last Friday of the month in May. But that changed Memorial Day, didn't it? Because Memorial Day is now what? Memorial Day is the kickoff to summer. Memorial Day is time for barbecues and time for parties. It's the end of school. So there's a lot to celebrate. But for those that were in the service and those that were part of something bigger, Memorial Day is not always about the three-day celebration. And there's been a movement it started with Senator Inouye. Remember, he died a few years back. But he's the one who really said, hey, wait a minute, we're forgetting what this day is really about. And so there's people such as the American Legion, the VFW, and a lot of us that say, you know what, we should really go back to just being simple May 30th. People still honor that in the flags, the cemeteries. One of them was in Boston. Each flag denotes one person that died. This is the history. And I think the next slide, that's Boston. I was there in the Boston Commons. Those are the people that have died just from Boston alone. That goes over the hill. We tried to do something like that in Arcata, but there's no real records. And what we want to do is just to have a list of fallen soldiers, but it's not available to us. So the Memorial Day celebration is on, the remembrance is on Monday, the 29th, at 3 o'clock. Is when there's a national kind of a moment of silence. And if you're anywhere and you just happen to remember, even if you're in the car at a stoplight and you just happen to know it's 3 o'clock, maybe just say thanks. And then the celebration is also, what is the ceremony? The ceremony is simple. The ceremony is a flag that you raise to full mast at sunrise, first thing in the morning. It could be 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever. Goes to full mast and it's brought down to half mast. But it doesn't remain there all day. The flag goes back at 12 o'clock and it's really the recognition. It's back to full flag, but it's the acknowledgement of the people that have fallen. And so I guess there's a little poem. I put a piece of paper out here. There's an image with that'll show poppies. This little piece of paper is a poem. It's actually quite famous. It was written during World War I. It's about poppies. And poppies have become the symbol of remembrance all across the world. Whether it's the French resistance, it's in Korea, and poppy, people have adopted the poppy as the symbol of World War I. And so with that, say thank you. And so we're going to have Charlie come up here. Now Charlie is for the fallen soldiers. We have there's what they call the Gold Star moms, and the Gold Star. We'll talk about the Gold Star in another function. But the Gold Star is a flag that you'll see that people hang in their windows, and they'll have a number for each soldier that is serving. And then there's the Gold Star of the soldiers that have fallen. And in our Rotary, we have a Gold Star mom, and that's Charlie Jordan. And I'd like to say thanks.
Okay, I didn't expect to be so emotional, but guys, some of you know Keven, some of you just know of Keven. He was my oldest, and he served as a U.S. Navy SEAL and was killed in action in Afghanistan in 2012. He was highly decorated. He was leading his element of men, and they were ambushed from above. He stepped out from cover and radioed in their coordinates so that they could get help, and he was the only casualty. He was a corpsman. This was his second deployment. During his first deployment, he received the highest honor you could for the campaign, and I don't know that much about military symbolism, but the general of the campaign and during his first deployment in Afghanistan literally sought him out and gave him a medal for his bravery in saving the number of lives that he did under fire. During that deployment, he and his team would go every 3 months to a different village, forward base is what they call them. Keven would set up, he was, as a corpsman, he would set up a clinic and he would provide medical care. Many times, the first time these people in their lives had ever received any kind of medical care to the villagers. And that was really his focus in doing what he did. So when we lost Keven, it was unexpected. He had just called to say that he was on his way home. And he had been accepted to ODU in Virginia and was going to complete becoming a doctor. So his loss is felt by a lot of people, and I think the world in general. I love that photo. That photo of Kev is pretty representative of those of you that have had a chance to meet him, and it was really rare. One of the things that was really tough for him was to give care to the children, especially the females, because of the culture there, not just the language barrier, but he says, I don't know how I'm supposed to treat, women without looking at them. And they had to have their father or their husband, whatever. But this here shows, because of that culture, it shows the trust that they gave for him to be allowed to be with this female child. And obviously this little girl was really enthralled with the fact that he had this little kitten. And a number of times we've heard Keven was just this quiet person, and one of his friends called him a gentle soul that was tough as nails. And that was very much Keven. What else do we have up there? We have a couple of memorial events. There was these are his teammates, and they put together Climb for the Fallen, and we did Keven's climb. And for a couple of years, do we have the run?
Yep.
Yeah. So for the first couple of years, the memorial run that HealthSport sponsors here in the park, those funds benefited the Climb for the Fallen. This year, the run is going to benefit the Navy SEAL Foundation. The Navy SEAL Foundation is a very special foundation. It's there to serve the special operations community. It's a small community. Real brief. Navy SEALs came out of the World War II. Frogmen became UDT, which is Underwater Demolition Team, and then in the 60s, late 60s, they became Navy SEALs. That's the history. In that entire history through today, there's less than 10,000 men that can claim the title of Navy SEAL. It's a very elite group. The Navy SEAL Foundation serves that community with counseling, with finances if there's a specific hardship for travel and the like. They take care of the Gold Star parents, the Gold Star spouses, the Gold Star siblings, and they do an amazing job. There's the cost of war isn't just the loss that we have. It really ripples through the generations when you lose somebody in your family like that. And then the other event, the other event, I'm going to attempt to play a quick video, is Keven.
Of course.
Okay. It's a memorial event similar to like a Go Ruck, but with the flavor of. I think we got. Sorry. So it's like a it's like a Tough Mudder with the flavor of the Navy SEALs, and it's only open to 100 participants. The last couple of years, we've done it, and the proceeds go to Kevin's Memorial Fund. This year, what we decided to do was use this year as a planning year, and we're doing Kevin's camp out at Patrick's Point. And again, I need to decide part. Let me see. It's a day and a half event where, like I said, we're limited to 100 people, and we set them up in teams, and each team is led by either a current or a former special operations individual, whether they're SEAL or Ranger, and they take them through. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the promos for Navy SEALs, but they do log carries, they do, they lift the boats, and Wing has always been wonderful about providing the inflatables for us to use. They obviously do a lot, well, it's maybe not obvious, they do a lot of hiking and PT and whatnot, and it really creates a team environment. And the last year in particular was significant because the first woman ever to deploy with a Navy SEAL team was a photographer, Blue Keller. She deployed with Team 4 during the deployment where Keven was killed, and she participated, and she came back and said that event restructured or just reset for me the experience, and it's allowed me to get some help for my PTSD. Another one of the former teammates said, I got out because we lost Keven, and if we could lose Keven, then it became really clear to me that my priorities needed to shift, where I could, do what I'm going to. He went back to school, actually. He's a very highly intelligent individual. He is graduating this year from Wharton and pursuing a career in medicine as well, and helping folks. And for him, it also helped him reframe some of his experiences so that he could get help for some traumatic brain injury. And because of that, and there are some other stories, and we've decided that we are creating the Keven Ebbert Foundation. So this year's a planning year for that. That's why we're doing a Keven camp out instead of an event. The proceeds will still go to Kevin's Memorial Fund. And let me just put your slideshow back up. With the idea that we will be providing those funds, will provide help. Sorry, we'll be providing help for those that like music and want to do that, as well as medicine, and those are Kevin's two loves in life, and as well as continue to help our veterans that need help with such things as PTSD or traumatic brain injury, some of the other things. So that's where it lives now, that's where his fund lives now, and that's what we're doing. That's the second memorial event that we are doing. What's that? The run, we did the run. Yeah, we did the run. Yeah, so, yes. And we love the kinetic sculpture race. Keven was, I believe, 12 years old when he paddled the Sunny Gray machine across the bay, and people thought I was nuts that I was allowing my son to do that.
What do they know?
What do they know?
Charlie, we have something from the Rotary for you, and it's beautiful. I think you're going to like this. It's a gold star like this.
Oh my God. Oh my God, you guys. This is awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. This is
Okay, so wonderful.
Are there other veterans in our club?
You know,
I'm sorry.
that's a
Yeah.
great question.
Yeah. Nick?
Can we have all the veterans stand up?
Yes.
Tom, he's already standing.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
service.
thank you.
Yeah.
And you think about who we are, we're all here being able to talk about it, and it's because of our veterans that we are able to do what we do. So I appreciate that every day, and especially after being close to someone who has been in the service in that way. Keven was my son-in-law, and it's changed me. And like Charlie said, the ripples that go out, you know, I'm much more aware and much more supportive, and just as a person, I'm working to be a better person because of that. And so there's so many things positive about what you all do.